Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube video. Today it's going to be a update video, a showing off video. And that's mainly it, and showing off some new knives I've made. Now my father has gotten me some new knives, and I bought myself some new knives recently. And I got a few updates on some items and a few new items I've made myself. So I guess the first thing I'll do is show off the stuff that I bought and my father bought me. Now, as y'all may know, I love to collect Victorinox knives. So my father bought me this, how do you say it? Florist knife, which is for flowers. Very sharp. I've only taken this out of the box once, and it is super sharp. That's what you gotta love about Victorinox. And brand new, these are normally between $30 to $40. My father paid $10 for this one off eBay. So y'all better thank my daddy for that. As y'all may remember in a previous video, I got this new bayonet at a pawn shop for 30 bucks. It's a World War II British MK2 bayonet. This would have been widely used throughout World War I and World War II, but with the markings on this one, that puts this one at World War II. Sadly, this is a reproduction case on it, but I can't really complain. At least it came with a case. Next is this one. My father bought a bundle of small barlows. 2 of them I think he paid $10 for. See if I can get this one open. This one's still stiff because I'm still in the process of oiling it. These are Pakistan bullet barlows. There is a small one of these, but I misplaced it because the small one I'm put for sale. The big one, this big one, I'm going to keep for myself. I had to completely replace the handles and clean up the blade, put a new edge on it. So this one will be a good little barlow that I'll keep around and use, not be afraid of breaking it, because these Pakistan barlows are generally very cheap. You can pick them up almost anywhere. But for 10 bucks for this one and the small one, you can't really beat that. The small one I've already put for sale to anybody who wants it. The big one I'm keeping for myself. Next is a mint condition Camco sheep's foot barlow. Now from the website I like to go to is all about pocket knives, or AAPK I think it's called, and they have information on a lot of pocket knives that helps our business. So one of the things about this one is it's a barlow knife made by Camco, but it's got a sheep's foot blade. Even the website said that those are very rare to come by. Most of them were only made with a clip point blade, which is what this one's got. So now I've got the pair. As y'all may remember, this one my father bought me a while back that was in rough condition. Ain't so rough now. This one took me so long to restore because it was so pitted very bad, but I took a gamble and used my belt sander and gently sanded away the pitting. Just keep swiping like this on the belt sander till I couldn't see any pitting, or at least most of it was gone, which it is. Very well worth it. That's a gamble we're taking, and the only reason I don't normally do that to these barlows is because most of these barlows come with very thin blades, and to sand it off would basically be like taking a piece of wood and making it thinner and thinner and thinner. So, but this one has a reasonable thick blade, so it was worth cleaning up. So now I've got the sheep's foot barlow made by Camco and the clip point barlow made by Camco, except this one was in mint condition. I didn't have to do anything to it. So y'all can thank my dad because he bought these for me. I don't quite remember what he paid for these, but these are going in my personal collection. Next is a old Camillus barlow, but the blades are heavily used. Again, this is one that my father bought, but I'm going to probably sell this one, but I'm going to hold on to it till I can get another Camillus barlow with at least decent blades. But I'm going to sell this one as soon as I can get another one to replace it. Okay. Next is, let's put that away too. Next, as y'all may remember, I love collecting military knives, so my father was able to find me 3 to put in my collection that I didn't even have. So y'all better thank him because he paid a lot for these. This one, let me open it again. This one is a Queen's Cutlery barlow. Queen's Cutlery U.S. military knife. This one would be about Vietnam era. Y'all definitely got to thank my dad because he went high and yonder to find one of these, and these are actually very rare to find, and that's going to go great in my collection. with the other ones I've got. And this one is a Western version of this knife. That's awesome. Thank you, Dad. I love this one. Next is a charade version. So now I've got one made by Charade, one made by Western, and one made by Queen's Cutlery. If there's any other companies that y'all know about that have made this knife during the war, let me know and I'll keep an eye out for them, because those I'm collecting, at least one of each knife they issued to the military. So anyway, and let me know down in the comments if you want me to do a video of what is the difference between each one of these knives, because each one of them is slightly different than the other. It's just hard to tell when I show them all off individually, but if you want to see a video of me explaining what's the difference between them all, let me know in the comments, and if I get enough votes, then I'll probably do it. Or enough comments, meaning. Next is this little Camillus knife that came in a bundle. We've already sold most of them, but this one I've been trying to clean up for my dad. This is an old Camillus knife. Don't really know how old it is. The blade's still in a rough shape, but I'm still in the process of working on it. Alright, next is my two pawn shop finds. I bought these at my local pawn shop a couple days ago, and an old friend of mine who works at the pawn shop near in my town called Cabot Pawn, I'm pretty sure y'all know I've talked about it before. Anyway, I go there pretty often. Me and my dad do. We buy guns, knives, or tools, depending on what they have. And they generally give us some good deals because we're regulars. And he's also a very good friend of mine. Anyway, when we first walked in, the display case had a few new pistols, but nothing that really took our fancy. And then I went to the other side of the store where they keep all the knives and stuff. Didn't really find anything that I really could want or afford anyway, because there's two knives they have on stock that I can't afford right now. And he and I, the pawn shop guy, he and I were talking, and I said, well, do you have any other knives in the back? Because a few weeks ago, if y'all remember this video, I asked him if he had any more knives, and he brought out this bag of rusted pocket knives, which I bought from him. And he said, yeah, I got a buddy in the back working on a bunch of pocket knives. And I said, well, bring them out and I'll happily take a look at them for you. And at first, they were all miscellaneous junk knives. Knives were probably worth $5 a piece. But then, underneath one of the knives, I see this one. Yep, the Victorinox logo. And at first, I'm almost skeptical, but when I opened the blade and noticed it says Victorinox right on the blade, I was very happy. I said, dude, this one was in there. And he said, what? I had no idea it was in there. I said, well, I'm glad. Because I bought this from him. And at first, it didn't look this nice. The blade was severely dirty. The inside needed to be cleaned. And the grips needed to be cleaned. So, yeah, I had to do some work to it. And he said, what's your offer? I said, I'll offer you $12 for this one. And he said, sold. I said, all right, I'll take it home. And then I bought this one just to help make him feel better, because I noticed he kind of looked disappointed that I offered such a low amount. So I bought this cheap lock back for $5 with the knife, so that was $15 total. And the lock back I've already cleaned up. It's just a cheap Pakistan. I'll just put it with my beater knives. I use this for numerous tasks. I use my beater knives for numerous tasks, opening paint cans. I'll just chuck them into a table, not worry about them breaking because they're cheap. So I paid $5 for this one, $12 for this one. The Victorinox is going to my collection because this is a baby version of their Officer Swiss. I'll do some more research on it in a couple of days. The Pakistan probably ain't even worth that much. This is probably worth $5 to $10, give or take. But I'm really happy with these. These are definitely going in my collections. Put all these back in the bag. Alright. Alright, next is a couple of updates. First is an update I had been meaning to do for a while. As y'all may remember, this is my Denix sawed-off version of a double-barrel 12-gauge. Now, as y'all may remember, the hammer on this was broken, so I had to fix that, which wasn't a problem. I actually had to take the trigger guard off so I could see the assembly. One of the springs was bent outward, so I took a flathead screwdriver and put that spring back in place, and now it works. See? So that was worth fixing. Thank you very much, JJ Jinx. That's going to stay in my collection. Next is a gun that I had been waiting to do an update on. my Stevenson 16 gauge pump action shotgun with the original muzzle end. As y'all may remember, I got this gun a couple of months back from a guy, and thanks to my friend JJ Jinx, y'all better give him a thank you. He bought me some super blue to re-blue my shotgun. Now you can't even tell that it was rusted. And my father and I bought the parts to fix this. The first part it needed was the magazine cap right here and the thing right here. Those two pieces were gone, and so was the magazine spring, and the ejector spring, and one other spring I can't think of the name of. Those parts were missing, so it was about, I think, $40 to get this gun fixed. But now, works like a charm. But then my attention was to the stock. Now, originally there was, if you can see it on the camera, there's a huge crack going from here to here on both sides. Now, first thing I went to my buddy who works at the pawn shop to ask him what's the best tip to fix this, at least temporarily, till I can buy a new stock. Because this gun's about 80 plus years old, so it's kind of hard to find a stock for this, or at least the original stock, so at least I can get it stabilized to where it's shootable, because if you were to shoot this with a cracked stock, this wood would split and shoot this way. So at least I got the stock solid again, so that way it's shootable. So anyway, like I said, I used liquid nail to seal the stock back together, but the instant I screwed it back down, the wood split back open. So I was like, you know what, I'm done with that. So I cleaned all the glue off and filled it with Gorilla Glue, which is well known for sealing wood together really well, which it did. All I did is I sealed the gap up, clamped it as tight as I could get it, not attached to the gun, of course, and then hand sanded it and refinished it. Sadly, took off some of the checkering, but like I said, in the future, I do plan on replacing this stock, but at least this way I can still shoot it. Like I've said before, this is a 16 gauge pump action. This is my very first shotgun, and I got it off a guy who's a retired Lonoke County jailer. You know who you are, my friend. Thank you very much. And he basically told me that he would rather let me have this gun because this was given to him when he was my age, which I'm 18 now. And he said he's already had a lifetime of fun out of it. And he said since he got tired of this just sitting like this in his daddy's safe rusting, so he figured he would give it to me. Well, he didn't give it to me. I traded him about $50 in trade. And so he traded me this gun. Thank you very much, man. And I just love this sound. I love that sound. Anyway, and I already got a box of ammo for it. Hopefully, me and my father will go shooting and I'll be able to shoot this gun. But for safety reasons, I am going to wrap this right here just for safety reasons. Alright. Let's see. A couple more updates. Next update is on my hand crank knife sharpener. As y'all may remember, I got this from a gift from a friend of mine, and it works now. Sorry I didn't film it. I was really busy, so I got it done real quick. I stripped it down completely and cleaned all the rust off and painted it back the original coloring. Turns out this is from 1906, if I can recall. That makes this almost 100 years old. Very rare tool. This is going to stay in my collection. Next is on a couple of screwdrivers I had restored. Here's the one I restored most recently. I painted the handle brown. And it actually looks pretty well. I think I might start trying that more often. And then these are two that I restored a while back. Now, as y'all may remember, two screwdrivers that I had bought a while back had messed up handles, so I removed them and cleaned the shafts and the collars. Now, be in mind, I had never made screwdriver handles before, so this one kind of came out this way, but it's still solid, it still works, and it grips really easily. And here's the other one I made. So there's those. Alright, that's basically all the updates. Next is to show off some new knives that I've made myself. Here's the first knife I made today. Made this one out of an old bed frame for the blade. Now, just for those who know, the bed frames I use are not modern ones. I use older bed frames, like ones from the 60s, 70s, and even older, if I can find them. because those make very good hardenable material, because the older bed frames were made out of at least 100% carbon steel, which can make a very good cutting knife if proper heat treated. And I heat treated these properly. Used a piece of aluminum for the guard and piece of hickory for the handle with a lanyard hole. Very nice little utility knife. This one's going to be put for sale. Next is my war hammer, is what I call this. Now, I bought this old hammerhead at a flea market a couple years ago, and I've never really had a use for it until now. Now, let me zoom in closer on y'all. As y'all can see, there's two main bolts around this connecting this. This is a solid steel shaft with two bolts screwed right through it and a hammerhead put on the back. And this is, I basically thought of a trench hammer because I learned from another history book that it wasn't just knives they used in the trenches. They used basically anything. Hammers, axes, billy clubs, you name it, they used it. And I was like, if I was in the trenches, what kind of hammer would I want? And this is one that I designed. I put a meat tenderizer end on the front of it and sharpened the claw to where it's almost razor sharp, and put two steel bolts all the way through the hammerhead and the shaft to hold it on so it will not go anywhere. And then used a solid steel pipe and a steel ring from a wrench to help catch your hand when you swing it. So that way you can catch your hand like that. And it doesn't even weigh that much, probably 4 or 5 pounds-ish, don't quite know. And then I wrapped the handle in electrical tape, even though they didn't have that back then. I just did that to make it look cool, and I spray painted it black with a metal paint so that way it'll stay on. And I mean, if y'all want me to do a testing video of this, let me know, because I will do it. I mean, this thing could probably smash a concrete block without a problem. So if y'all want me to do a testing video of this, let me know, and I'll do it. But I have to get enough people to comment about it. I need at least 10 to 15 comments on if you want me to do a video of testing this out. Alright. Next is a small little knife I made out of an old circular saw blade. This one's going to be put for sale. Used a piece of hickory for the handles. It's full tang. Next is another knife I made out of an old bed frame. Simple hunting knife style. Again, this will be put for sale. Next is a very thick knife. This one I made out of an old wood splitter. Now, as y'all may remember those wood splitters that are in a rectangular shape and they go thinner and thinner out to the tip? Well, I got a couple of those recently from a friend of mine, and he asked me if I could make a knife out of them, which I already made him one and gave it to him. And this is the other one. Now, as you can see, it gets thinner and thinner out to the tip, which makes it a very good cutting knife. Very sharp, and used a piece of hickory for the handles. Has a very good thickness. What a beef of a knife. Last but not least is a weapon I don't normally make, but I tried it anyway. This is a fantasy-style sickle, or sai, whichever you prefer to call it. Made the blade out of an old circular saw blade with 2 bolts going through a steel tube. And then a brass chain to connect it on. Very light. I mean, you were to stick this and pull it this way, guaranteed that would rip their flesh clean off, because that part is sharp, and so is this. This one's going to be put for sale real soon to anybody who wants it. Or I may accept trade depending on the item. Alright. Let me know down in the videos. Let me know down below if you want me to do a testing of this Warhammer. And, can't really think of anything else. Yep. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to do a video of showing the difference between each one of these knives, because I've got them all now, so I can show you the differences. So let me know down in the comments if you want me to do a video on explaining the differences between these military knives. And let me know if you want me to do a video on testing out this Warhammer. Alright, guess I'll end the video here. As always, stay sharp.